Hey, everybody, how's it going? Happy Tuesday. I'm excited to be with you here tonight with my friend Victoria Bentley. And we are broadcasting all over the place and all over the worldwide internets. And tonight we're going to talk about how badly do you want it? If you're on the live, give us a hashtag live. If you're on the replay, give us a hashtag replay. We've both got stories about the how badly do you want it lately, because it's come up as a conversation point for both of us today. I'm going to let Vicky go first.
Well, hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm having a Dr. Pepper and chilling and
Yep, and I've got my Coke from Wawa. I'm happy. So I'll tell you, this was an interesting day for me. I was asked, I'm involved with a number of charities, and one of the charities asks me to sit in on interviews. And this particular charity has, I'm trying to protect anonymity as I talk about this. This particular charity does housing for women who are trying to have a new start in life, and for a myriad of reasons have ended up not necessarily homeless, but life is a mess and they really want to get it together, and they don't have the means to do it. They don't have the education to do it. So this organization has a building and has beds and has a program and has volunteers, people like you and me, who mentor, who set examples, who teach. Somebody teaches parenting, somebody, that kind of thing. All kind people who've gone off the track and are trying to get it back together again and don't know how. And we're saying, okay, we know how to do some of this. Let us help you. It is of no cost to the woman who comes there, and she can bring her children. There's room for her children to live there too. Nobody can be pregnant, so you can't. You've got to make a commitment to yourself. You're not
going out and getting pregnant while you're in the middle of trying to rebuild everything, because that kind of blows everything to smithereens and back.
And it
has a little tendency to do that.
Yeah, it does. It can be pretty, occupying. So, all right. So some of the requirements are, if you do not have a high school diploma, you got to get your GED. You got to get a driver's license, and you got to get a job. So those are like the gatekeeping things here. That's important. So how badly do you want this? It's a 2-year program, and we're paying for everything. And we're teaching you how to cook. We're teaching you how to feed your children nutritiously. We're teaching you how to do a job interview. We're teaching you, we're giving you testing to figure out what you're good at. All those things. We're helping you put it together. And people are committed to, teams of people.
I love Eric's comment here. Kids always mess up things. Yeah, they really do have a tendency of doing that. Yep, totally.
Yeah, somebody said to me the other day, do you have children? And I said, yeah, they have 4 legs. So if they get pregnant, I can sell their children. They don't do drugs, and they'll never have to go to college. Anyway, so we interviewed a woman today, and she had her parenting mentor with her, and she is not yet in the program. And we would ask a question, and the parenting mentor would answer for her and had her arm around her. And I'm watching this, and I finally said, Sally Sue, would you let Betty Bill here answer for herself? And I said to the woman, who was in her late 20s, where have you worked? Nowhere. Okay, what have you done since you left school at 18? Didn't finish, but left school at 18. And she didn't leave because she was pregnant. And she said, nothing. And
how is that possible?
How is that possible? Because she has had welfare for 5 years. She's had a cash grant and food stamps for 5 years. So she lives with somebody, and she lives off that money, and she doesn't have to do anything. Now, I also noticed she had a nice new iPhone, right? And she had a designer handbag. Blows my freaking mind. So I said, Betty Bill, how badly do you want this? And she started to cry, and she covered her eyes like this and would not answer. And she did it. I was sitting to her right. She did this so that she could see you and you and you, but she couldn't see me. And she refused to answer my questions. And I thought, well, you're asking us to drop a lot of time, a lot of money, and we only have X number of beds. And we've got to get the most winning candidate in here. We've got to get
Mhm.
the one who has the greatest chance of success.
Mhm.
And so when I ask you, what have you done? It's not a trick question. And I said, finally, when, the answers were no, no, no. And the other women who work there who were lovely. And I said, how badly do you want this? She could not answer. And where are you sitting with my
Were
in-law?
you were you sitting with my in-law side of the family? Yeah, we all have them.
We all have that story, don't we?
Uh-huh.
But I was stunned and I said, what do you want? What? And I said it in you're hearing the exasperated voice, but I said, what are your goals? And she said, well, I'd like to get a job and I'd like to get a GED, which is, we said job, GED, and driver's license. She said, I'd like to get a job. I'd like to get my GED. I'd like to get a driver's license. And I said, yeah, I got that. Those aren't, that's a requirement. What do you want? And then she said, well, I like cooking. She said, I tried it once, but it didn't work out very well. And I said, oh, were you working somewhere in a restaurant? And she said, no, in my mother's kitchen. And I thought, oh my God, by the time many of us are that age, we own houses, we are married, we have children, we have degrees,
Gosh, my husband probably thought I had tried to food poison him at least a few dozen times by that point.
You know what?
He's got lots of stories about me and my lousy cooking at that point.
And lousy cooking. And I think.
And he's still alive to tell the stories.
Oh, you're funny. I think one of the greatest sins is that we don't dream big enough. I didn't say, what do you, I just said, what are your goals? What looks good? Hi, Beth. It's not a trick question.
No.
Where's the big sky dream in here? If you could wave your magic wand, we're giving you a start here. You don't have to worry about the bills for 2 years. You don't have to worry about anything other than getting your shit together for the next 2 years. And you can't even answer me what you want out of life other than, oh, the cash grant is gone and you can't afford to live anymore. And as simple a question as, what would you like? You turn to your mentor and want her to answer the question for you. I was homicidal. And I thought, you can't make this up. And I think there are a lot of people out there like this who have had the easier, softer way in many ways. And you say, hey, look, that isn't an easier, softer way, her life. Don't misunderstand how I'm saying it. But what a lovely luxury it is to not have to do anything. Not that you want to, but here's a check in the mail. Can you imagine? Oh, wait, here's the grant for the kids for daycare. Oh, here's the thing for your cell phone. Here's your freebie for the utilities. And the list goes on and on and on. In the meantime, we're all paying for this. Yes, learned helplessness. Thank you, Eric. It is absolutely. And we have enabled this in our society instead of saying, no, we're not going to pay for this anymore. You're going to have to decide how you want to live, but you're not going to ask me to pay for it indefinitely. I was, as far as this woman could tell, the meanest mommy in the galaxy. I mean, I was just horrible for how could you ask these questions of her when I'm thinking, gee, you're asking us to do A, B, and C for you. I need to know, how badly do you want it? What are you willing to do? And I had this same conversation with a younger relative of mine who wanted to go to a very fancy prep school. Mom and dad were divorced. I'm a divorce lawyer, and I handled this a certain way. It's often generational to step outside of it and separate yourself from the family. Yes. And this family member of mine wanted to go to this very expensive school, and dad was already paying for a private school for him. And this was considerably more, and dad was already paying more than child support, et cetera, et cetera. And the way I handled this in my law practice with college, you can't, in my state, you can't force a married person to send their kids to college because you can't force a single person to send their kids to college. So it's an equal protection argument. So, if a parent chooses to send Junior to college, that's great, but I can't make him legally. So back to the private school. And I said to him, what are you willing to do to go to this school?
Mm-hmm.
Because he was 15 or 16. He doesn't have a job or whatever. I mean, he certainly doesn't have a job that's going to pay for that, but he didn't have any job. His only job was playing video games, and that was all he wanted to do. And I said, what are you willing to do? And he said, nothing. I'm entitled to this, and you need to pay for it. And we just smiled and said, well, that won't be happening. And I thought about this, and I thought, where did this come from? This sense of entitlement. We have a world of entitled people, and it is really bad for them. I mean, it's bad for us that we're paying for all this nonsense. But I think about it, and I think, if you want something, how bad do you want it, and what are you willing to do to get it?
Absolutely.
And I certainly wouldn't expect a 15-year-old to pay for an expensive prep school, an expensive day school. But I would expect that 15-year-old to say, look, I don't have the money, as you know that, but what I'd like to do is go to the school because it has this program and this program, and I can work at the Piggly Wiggly after school or on Saturdays. And this is with my willingness to participate. Anything. Just tell me why this school? And anyway, so he ended up going to another school of, similar, that he participated in nothing. And after a year of going to a school like this, and didn't join the chess club, and didn't join the crew team, and didn't join the soccer team, and didn't join the French club, and on and on and on, it's like, why are you there? And I'll tell you why, because that school to him was just like the designer handbag was to this woman. It was status. Look how I look. I want the world to see me a certain way, but I want somebody else to pay for it. And it's stunning to me how many people are there. If you want something, I really wanted to be a lawyer. And I was getting divorced. I was working full-time at the hospital, and I was working full-time going to law school. And from 11 to 7, this is how old I am and how long ago it was, I slept with a beeper underneath my pillow, and I did IV on call so that at 3 o'clock in the morning, if some cancer patient's line got clogged, I'd go to their house, start a new line so their morphine drip could continue. And I got paid $50 every time I went out on call. Tell you what, $50 paid for groceries or it paid for gasoline. I did what I needed to do because I really wanted to go to law school. And had I gone to my dad and said, would you pay for this? He probably would have. I wouldn't dream of doing that. Because that's, I'm a grown-up. That's his money. He's got to retire. He's got to whatever. Or maybe he doesn't want to do any of those things, but it's his money. Why should he give it to me?
Right.
Totally. One thing if he said, I'd like to do this for you, but but we got this world of people saying, you have to do this for me. I am entitled. And
it's also the
question, how badly do you want it? And what do you
I want it. Okay. So what are you really willing to do to get it? And it transcends everything. I mean, I hear it all the time. People want money. When I was working in direct sales, I'm a new skin distributor. I was doing that. I was recruiting people actively. People would come in all the time and they'd be like, oh, I want to make money. Or I see it and I hear it all the time from new entrepreneurs. Oh, I want to make money. I want to make a go of this business. I want to do these things.
How many people did you and I see like that doing the mid-level marketing stuff, always chasing the next dream instead of doing the work?
Right. Well, and I see it with the coaching world. I see it with so many businesses. So it's not just the MLMs, right? Um, but it's always okay, my husband and I have this joke, and we were actually telling this joke tonight in the car because it's been a long-standing joke because it talks about, there's this girl and she's struggling with her grades in a class in a university. And she goes to the professor and she's like, I do anything. And she's like, to get an A in this class. And he's like, would you do anything? And she was like, I would do anything, batting her eyelashes to get an A in this class. And he's like, finally looks at her and goes, would you study? And, I agree with this. Your folks were there if you needed them, if you crashed and burned, but they expected you to get the plane off the ground on your own. Absolutely. Right. And that was my parents too. But I mean, when we start to translate this, not just from like your experience with your nonprofit, I mean, we transfer this to the entrepreneurial world. How badly do you want it? Right. Yeah. Are you willing to talk to people? Are you willing to go out and go have coffee calls with people? Are you willing to go to networking meetings? Are you willing to actually talk to people, to build relationships, to get sales? And I can't tell you how many people literally want to go slinking out the door. I mean, it's almost like a visceral, it's almost like this. It's the same kind of reaction like when you ask that woman of, well, how badly do you want it? And I can see it. I can almost feel it. Like when I ask that question online, are you willing to talk to people? And they go running for the door. Are you willing to put together a marketing plan? And people are like, and they go running from the door, and it's like, I can look at your marketing plan and I can look at how many people you're talking to, and a couple of other things in your business and tell you whether you're making any money whatsoever or not. Especially if you've been in business for more than a couple of months. It is just amazing to me. Do you have a plan? Do you have a thing to sell? And are you talking to people?
I don't pretend that making changes in your life is easy. Change is hard.
Oh no, change is very hard.
It's hard. And even when life is crap, you often do the same old thing because it's familiar. You put on those pair of shoes.
Yeah.
So much of America has been just here. What do you need? We'll give it to you. We're the most generous people in the world. It's what can we do? How can we help you? We give money all over the world. At some point, where is the switch in your brain that says, this isn't okay. I got to have a better life and I've got to do better for my kids.
Yeah.
And
a lot of times it's not the easiest way out, right? I mean, part of my story has been building my business while dealing with my daughter and a traumatic brain injury and tons of hospitalizations, mental health, 18 hospitalizations, homicidal ideations, suicidal ideations, the whole gamut, right? And it's taken me 20 plus hours a week. And people thought I was nuts. I mean, I will be honest and say, going the route we've gone has not been the easy one. How badly do you want it?
I think that has got to be the mantra in job interviews. It's I went with a friend the other day looking at houses, and my friend was moving and asked for my eye. I always meet me halfway and I'll go all the way with you. I've heard a lot of boys say that before. I went and I saw some pretty magnificent houses, one of which I wanted. And I thought, could I do it? Yeah, I probably could. Should I do it? No, I probably shouldn't. And then I said, what are you willing to do to get this house? And I thought about it, and I thought, it would consume me. It is such a big, but this is the other part, is that when you come to a certain age or a certain place in your life, you know what your limitations are.
Mhm.
And knowing that is often a very good thing. I
Mhm.
don't be limited and stay stuck.
Oh yeah.
I say dream big, but
Oh,
also
absolutely.
that I could practice 10 hours a day and I ain't ever going to be a ballerina. I mean, it's just, I just would keep tipping over. You know what I
What, you either?
mean? And I think you know who you are by the crash and burn. You've
Mhm.
tried things that didn't work. You tried things they did work. You know what you like. You know what you don't like. You know it because you're getting out there and you're mixing it up and you're trying things on and you say, you know, I'm good at this. I'm not so good at that. I like this. I don't like that. Gee, this looks interesting. Let's try it. Let's read about it. Let's explore it. What am I willing to do? How much time are you willing to put in? And you see, you know, what makes a world-class piano player? 10,000 hours of practice or something like that.
I don't think I would be a world-class piano player even with 10,000 hours practice.
Well, you don't know. You haven't done.
I haven't quite gotten to 10,000 hours, but I've gotten to about 8.
Well, that's pretty good.
And I suck. And Beth says, but you have to live in reality. Absolutely, right?
Right.
You
Like
know,
I said, I'll just keep tipping over as the ballerina. That is my
same.
reality. I knew a guy. He was married to a friend of mine long ago. He was the subway violinist,
Mhm.
and he shall remain nameless. He was really talented, but he was not A+ talented. So he never got to be the first chair in the New York Philharmonic. He never was going to get there, and he knew it. So he played in the subways, and he put his hat down, and we're talking in the 80s. He was making
Money.
80, 90,000 a year.
Yeah,
And
more than the Philharmonic, eh?
yeah, well, you know, maybe so for at the time. And he knew his limitations, and he knew he was never going to be that A-list player. He was an A- player. He was still a great, to the uninitiated ear, he was as good as could be. But to the people who knew, they weren't going to hire him. And he could practice his 10,000 hours and he wasn't going to get there, like you said. But he was smart. He knew his limitations. And I think you're never going to know unless you get your big toe in the water.
Yeah, and I like Beth's comment, but you can still dream big for your unique self. Absolutely. It's knowing who you are and what you do well and what you don't do well. And
that
crafting your life around that,
Mhm.
and leveraging your strengths, you know, is huge. And, you know, Eric says, but you suck less than the person who has put in 0 hours.
0.
Absolutely, right?
And you also look at yourself like, wow, I've worked really hard at this and
Mhm.
I've done a good job. And I'm proud of myself for doing this
Mhm.
under incredible duress and obstacles and whatever. And then you can say, maybe it isn't my gig, but at least you gave it a shot. At least you got out there. At least you,
At least I tried, right?
yeah, it's about action. You know, it's action, action, action. And I was talking to a friend the other day and we were having this conversation. And again, as a divorce lawyer, I would see these horrific marriages. And somebody would come into my office and I would say, you know, it was always, but I love him. And I would say, what do you love about him? And it was always, well, he has the potential to be this, or he has the, and it was never about reality. It was about a phony dream.
Potential.
Yeah, you know, well, this is what I want him to be, or this is, and so the cycle of domestic abuse would go on and on and on because it wouldn't get out, or, you know, they were going to get him to see and all that stuff. And, you know, been there, lived that, not the domestic violence part, but being married to someone who was not going to get it and wasn't going to be the right person for me and was never going to be okay. And I hope he's the right person for somebody else, but sure wasn't for me. And
But change comes very much from within, right? That how badly do you want it is you deciding that you want it. Potential is untested dreams. Absolutely. And I mean, I have to say, in my daughter's case, I wanted it really badly, enough that, I was willing to test almost every boundary out there. I wanted her health and safety more than anything else. And I wanted my business more than just about anything else. And I was willing to do whatever it took.
And you have.
And I have.
You have. And I've watched you do it. I've watched you put in those forever late hours and the never give up, never surrender. But when you're doing something you love, you look up and say, oh gosh, I didn't know it was so late, because you're doing something you love. You're getting a little bit more done, or you're reading another chapter.
One more thing, or one more.
Yeah. And
one more email, just one more.
Yeah. Well, let me sit down. Let me talk with them a little bit more. Let's see what we can get worked out. And I loved that. And I love that in my job.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's that, how badly do you want it? What are you willing to do? I mean, for me, it's been, being willing to talk to people. And a lot of people are like, oh, but you're an extrovert. Funny, you should be able to say that about me.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. Or
yourself, because you knew that talking to people was a necessary part of the job that you love. So you were going to learn how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, the first few times I went to networking meetings were just hysterical, but I made myself do it. And I made myself learn how to do it well enough that I'm not completely socially awkward at them. At least people don't perceive me as being nearly as socially awkward as I feel.
I never see you as socially awkward. I see you very capable.
Well, thank you. I definitely have those.
Practiced at it.
I've practiced at it, right? And doing Facebook Lives was, how badly do you want it?
I wanted my pilot's license. I started flying long ago. I started flying in the 80s and I stopped, maybe the late 70s, and then I stopped and I went back in the last decade. And there was a scary part of it that I wanted to avoid, and I couldn't avoid it and finish. I couldn't say, well, we're going to do everything but that. And it was really, I was terrified of stall spins. I was terrified of power on stall spins. I was afraid that I was just going to, go like a lawn dart into the ground. And it just, I would wake up with nightmares. And I had been in a stall spin event as a child, and it was so frightening that I just couldn't imagine having to do this, do this myself. And I can remember the day I was going to have to go do this for the first time. And I said to my secretary, my palms were sweating. I said, I can't do this. I can't do it. It's too scary. And she looked at me and she said, well, I guess you're just going to have to suck it up if you really want this. And I thought, wow, that was exactly what I needed to hear. If you want this, you're going to have to suck it up and do it. Otherwise, you don't want it. And that's okay too.
Okay.
Like, you're going to die if you're not a pilot. But I thought, you know what? I have to do this. And if I'm going to be safe and if I'm going to be good, I'm going to have to do this. And I did it. And it was really a big accomplishment. And that was kind of my measuring stick, my gold standard. How badly do you want this?
Yeah, I love that. How badly do you want this?
I'm sitting there with an airplane in a hangar and it's just cold. So how badly do you want to use this airplane? How badly do you want to get out there and see things? And that is it for all of us. That's how badly do you want this? How badly do you want this marriage? How badly do you want this job? How badly I see parenting, and I see, how badly do you want a good child? A good child requires you saying no. A good child requires setting limits and not. And I don't know. I saw a very funny comedian on, I don't know, Netflix or something, Amazon. I don't know what it was. Mark found it. And his name was Sebastian Maniscalco, for any of you who've ever heard him. And he was talking about this very thing. You know, he really wanted to be a comedian, and he talked about behavior, and you know, he would say things like, I really wanted this, but man, if I had talked to my father like that, he would have killed me. And you know, kids today, they don't know what it's like to try hard or have this job or that job or 3 jobs and I hear when people start saying kids today, I start to realize, yeah, we're not 20 anymore when we start saying phrases like that. But if I could have anything to put out there for people who want that job, it's how badly do you want it and what are you willing to do to get it?
Well, and I don't think, I will make the comment that I don't think that the entire generalization of kids today is entirely fair, because I see.
It's not, because there's some really incredible ones out there. Like we've got an all-volunteer army. Think about that. Those kids are facing death and they're choosing this. They're an amazing group of young men and women.
Well, and you think about how competitive the whole high school and college application process has gotten. Oh my gosh.
Going to the schools we went to, I mean, can you imagine today what it would be like to get into those programs?
Oh, very difficult.
It'd be very difficult because there's so much good competition out there.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of A students out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Kids today, yeah. No, and you know, it's the how badly do you want it? And you know, I have to say that, you know, I've seen my kids, my own children.
They want it.
They want it. They want it badly.
Xena has shown that she really wants it. Her mixed martial arts and all of her stuff that she did at a young age and was a world competitor. I mean, what is in a kid that wants that so badly, so young? How has that, and you know, maybe you can speak to that, is how did you foster that in your kids, that they wanted that so badly, to be the biggest seller of Girl Scout cookies, to be the world champion in Australia or whatever of the martial arts she was doing? I mean, she was young. What was she, like 12 or something?
She started competing internationally at about 13.
Okay.
But it was really, you know, the Girl Scout cookie thing was really just not putting barriers in her way. For me, it's just been staying out of my kids' way and fostering it and letting them do things.
It isn't just staying out of the way. The woman I interviewed today was staying out of her kids' way. No. You're fostering.
I do foster it. I mean, absolutely. I encourage it. But I also, you know, I understand my kids' strengths and weaknesses.
But you're a submission parent. Like, oh, you want to try it? Okay, let's try it.
Yeah, let's go do it.
Yeah, let's.
You want to sell 600 boxes of cookies? I might think you're nuts, but okay, we're going to go do it.
I think that's very cool. I think you have a lot to say about that, and I think that fosters.
And I mean,
not entitlement, but oh, okay, I really want it badly, and this is what I'm willing to do.
Well, and to your point about, you know, the school thing. I mean, you know, my youngest is at an all boys military boarding school by his own choice. You know, what are you willing to do? He has straight A's. He's been,
that's his job.
That's his job. He came home from school. There was a 20 cubic yard pile of mulch at the base of the driveway that he and his brother moved over the holidays. What are you willing to do?
Mulch in the winter. Wow, that's a concept. Not up here in Pennsylvania.
Well, I mean, it was 60 degrees. It's the time of year to do it.
Here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you would not want to do it in the summer here because it would be 95 and sunny and miserable.
I bet. I have a friend whose husband, and she was a stay-at-home mom, and her husband was a very successful attorney. She's a little bit older than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And she had 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember these children from a very young age were extremely disciplined, and nobody was hitting them over the head.
Mm-mm.
But the whole environment that they grew up in, hard work and discipline was modeled. And you could say, well, she was a stay-at-home mom. Oh, this woman worked her fanny off. I mean, she was president of the Wives of Physicians. She did all the volunteer stuff for the hospital. And that was a big job. A lot of the fundraising efforts that she took
Right.
on, and that was a job. And she modeled, I mean, every day there were fantastic meals. And every day when the kids came home, they got out of their school clothes and they knew that they needed to sit down at their desk until dinner was ready and they were to do. And she would say to them, your father is at the hospital. He won't be home for supper tonight. He's doing his job. Your job is to study and get good grades. And so they understood the concept of job and work. And it wasn't a concept of what are you going to do for me, or you owe me, or I'm entitled. It was very clear, like you had said, boundaries. It was very clear what they were what it was expected of them. And
absolutely. I mean, my kids have cooked in the household from very young.
And I think kids need
Sure.
I think we all need that. You know, if you're going, I'm going to work and I've got a new job or whatever, I need to know what is expected of me so that I can say, yes, I can meet that, or no, I can't. And if it's no, I can't, then I need to be in another job. That, you know, I need to either learn how to do it, but I need to understand the expectations and the boundaries.
Well, and I think that's an interesting point, because it's very easy to understand the expectations and the boundaries in a 9-to-5 type of job or a traditional career. I think it's a little bit harder to understand those boundaries and those expectations and set those expectations when you're a business owner.
Yeah, because
I mean,
other than the goals that you're setting for yourself, you know, I want to have X number of clients. I want to earn X number of dollars. I want to be in X number of podcasts. I want to be in X number of publications. Those are the measuring sticks.
Right. But how do you set that into, you know, actionable items, right? You know, if I'm going to make X amount in sales, well, then I actually need to talk to Y number of people.
Yeah.
You know, I needed to make 150 sales this year. Oh, crap. I need to talk to 300 people. Oh, flip. That's 5 people a week. 5 to 10 people a week.
And it goes back to, how badly do you want it?
How badly do you want it? Yeah.
And it ceases to be a job when you really want it. You know,
absolutely.
Tough days, but man, you're furthering yourself. You're dreaming. You're getting there. You're growing something. You've got something that you've created, and it's wonderful. And nothing can get in your way. You just keep going, and that's the cool thing. And that's the cool entrepreneur thing, because if it's yours,
yes,
there's a limit. You don't have, you know, the grumpy boss who's saying, I don't want you doing this. I don't want you doing that.
Oh, I have a grumpy boss. She's kind of a bitch.
I know her. She's really nice.
She's nice to you.
I'm easy to be nice to.
Right. Oh my God.
Our time has gone so fast again.
It is. Poof, we're done.
We're done.
Thank you guys.
Oh, and awesome. Thank you, Eric, for participating. I appreciate that.
Eric and Beth, thank you so much for participating. I love this. Potential is untested dreams.
I love that. I'm writing that down, Eric, and I'm going to use that. I appreciate your comment. That was great.
That is awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.